My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today on Meet Cool People, I have super cool dude I have gotten to know over the last year or so. I don't even know how long we've gotten to know each other. This is Roger Jorns.
Yeah.
He is from Reanimation Design. That is not an animation studio. That is not bringing the dead back to life, just so we are clear for all of our nerdy necromancer friends out there. He's helping businesses take their websites from brochure to revenue machine. So he's a web guy. Of course, he and I have had some amazing conversations because coming from a former recovering web designer, we can talk about all the stuff that's going on. So Roger, thanks for coming and hanging out today, my friend.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, Eli. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Well, and you and I have had so many different conversations over the year or whatever we've known each other now.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that we have these conversations, but most of them are like hardcore just business. And then we don't
Yeah.
get a chance to just hang out a whole lot. So this is even more fun because we'll talk business, but we get to hang out a little bit and have some good chats with it. So tell us a little bit about Reanimation Design. How did you get started with it? Like, what's a little bit of your origin story there?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was born at a young age, and no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No,
I
I
was
had
waiting
always,
for that one.
yeah. I had always really been, interested in websites and just design. And when I graduated, not high school, college, it was, well, you can do graphic design or you can do
Mhm.
software development. And I was like, don't want to do either one of those things. And so I just kind of finished my degree, did what I was doing. And then about 2016, I was like, man, I really want to learn how to do it. And so YouTube, and these online courses had started to come out. So I did that. And then as I was doing that, I was learning, okay, cool. Well, that's great. I'm moving boxes across the screen. But why am I doing that in that order? Like, why are the websites looking like that? And so really it came into like, oh, well, there's a marketing reason, right? There's psychological reasons. There's a pattern, there's a framework. And so really kind of learning more about that and really figuring out, oh, there's a cool marketing reason and we can really help tell a story through the website. And that was really something that was really cool, thinking through like, okay, so I'm not just putting this layout, I'm actually telling a story through a website and helping businesses tell their story through their marketing efforts, through their website specifically.
Nice. I love it. And it's so fun because, when I first started my graphic design agency, and this was back in 95, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was, I was building websites and I'm doing pretty business cards and logos and all the stuff and everything. But when it wasn't until 2007, 2007, I think was when I actually got into the internet marketing side of things. And that's when
Okay,
I
cool.
really understood the difference between a web designer and a marketer. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I've been making something that looks really pretty, but it's not as functional as it really should be.
Yes.
And back in the day, that's all there was anyway. So it wasn't like I was behind the ball. I was still ahead of most people in a lot of areas, but it was a totally different game. Once I understood that, I was like, wait a minute, we need to put these things here for a very specific
Hmm.
reason
Yeah.
and understand the psychology behind it. And that's when like the whole game changed. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how long it took me to do that. But back then we didn't have a whole lot. I mean, when I started, we were hand coding everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was this one program. So I worked at Starbucks for the longest time,
Mhm.
and there was this program on Adobe Dreamweaver,
Yep.
and I remember my manager that's what they did. They were doing that, and they were going to show me and do this, and they were like, oh yes, we're using Dreamweaver, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but I did. I saw them
Yep.
do some of that. I said, oh, wow, that's a lot. And so I too, I was like, well, I'm gonna learn how to do CSS and
Hmm.
JavaScript and HTML. Yeah, so it was all
Yep.
hand coded. So
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's so funny 'cause how everything has changed with all that. Because, like I said, when I was hand coding everything, and then we had
Mm,
Netscape Navigator, You remember that
Yeah.
browser?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah.
they had Netscape Composer. That was the first real
Oh,
web,
interesting.
like a graphic WYSIWYG type of interface that
Okay.
was out
Yeah.
there. And so that's what we kind of started playing with. And then front page was just a nightmare that came out, and
I
hated
heard
that from
about
the
that.
beginning.
Yeah.
And then when Dreamweaver came out, it was like, oh my gosh, this is the holy grail, you know,
Yeah.
whole different game.
Yeah.
So it's
And
funny.
Dreamweaver is still functional
Is it?
in some sense, right? Yeah, I think I mean I think it's changed, but I think you can still use it for that.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that's a good, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it is. I haven't looked because I got out of the web design industry,
Yeah.
and I all of our websites, we do them through the CRM, or
Oh
we've
yeah.
got obviously WordPress totally changed the game for everybody. So
Yeah.
when WordPress first came out, it was just the blogging platform. And then I
Yep.
saw, actually, my mentor was the first one that told me, he was showing us at an event how he had started building real websites with
Oh
WordPress. And we're
wow.
like, isn't that blogging thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute here. And
Yeah.
that like totally changed everything. And then fast forward, it's like, how many billions of sites are built on
Yeah.
WordPress now? So yeah, it's so interesting to watch how everything has evolved all this time.
It, I remember when I had first, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to learn WordPress. And then I was like, wait, WordPress.com, wait, WordPress.org. And I was like, wait, what's the, what? So that threw me for a loop
Uh-huh.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that threw me for a big loop.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's just it really is, being in the industry, and being in this world for as long as I have, and seeing how technology has changed. It's just crazy. It
Yeah.
really is, because it's
Yeah.
been so much has happened. Like, I've been in business for 30 years, and for as long as I've been doing this stuff, how many things have changed so much. And it really is, it just shows how fast things are moving in today's world,
Yeah.
which is just, and then of course now,
Incredibly.
just in the last few years with AI and everything coming up, it's even
Oh
at
my
a
gosh. Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
faster speed. It's crazy.
It really
So
is.
what are the, I mean, first question with a lot of this stuff, I want to get into kind of some nitty gritty here. First thing, what are the type of clients that you're normally working with?
Yeah. So typically the clients that I'm working with are going to be, so I've kind of done a wide range, but I've done coaches, consultants. I really like working with those like in the trade. So whether they're, contractors, roofers,
Okay.
concrete, excavators, all that sort of stuff. Those are really cool. And I like working with them because they have a need and,
Mhm.
they got to show it to somebody. And so they're usually like, yeah, no, I don't want to be invisible anymore, right? I want to be found. And so helping them kind of think through that has been really fun because they know what they do. But some people are like, well, but why should I choose you out of, you know, the 20
Mhm.
other contractors? So those are typically the clients that I work with.
Right. So with that said, when you're talking about getting more seen, coming from the web design world, I know a lot of times people spend so much time focusing on the website has to do all the things to bring in the
Yeah.
traffic, but the reality is so many other things going to the website, or where the traffic
Yes.
comes in. How are you educating people in the difference so they understand what the website's role is versus other tools that are out there? Because like for me, I do very little on SEO, because the fact that that's not where my traffic comes from.
Yeah.
But as a trade, as an example, as a great example of that, they're looking for the SEO side, because that's going to help
Yeah.
them with Google listings and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. So kind of explain the differences, where people need to think about stuff related. Okay, what's the role of the website, and what are the things you need to do on your website to make sure it does what it is, and what isn't the website? What are the other tools that you should be doing? Because people, they don't understand that stuff.
Yeah. Really, when it comes to a website, so usually if I come in, they're like, okay, well, it's a brochure, right? Like I have something up, but it's not necessarily something that is going to convert. It's just kind of more there. So it's like, well, I have a website, like you literally have a site on the web. But really, what we want to start to think of is, are we answering three questions? Are we telling people what we do? Are we explaining why they should care? And then how can they contact us, or how can they work with us, really? And really, your website is answering all three of those questions, and it's just expounding on those questions. And yeah, sometimes people do, they, especially, contractors, they're coming in and they're saying, hey, I need to work on my SEO, and they're always thinking search engine optimization, which is obviously what SEO stands for. But really, whether you're a contractor or you're just any small business, coaches, consultants, anything like that, I tell people now, really, SEO stands for people are searching everywhere online. And while you don't need to be everywhere, you need to think, how am I getting people to my website? Where am I showing up so that when they search online, maybe when they're on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever your clients are hanging out, podcast, YouTube, am I showing up there? And do I have like a byline? Is there something that I'm doing that people can say, oh yeah, okay, I kind of like what he's saying. Let me go check out his profile, his website, whatever it is, and they want to get to know you more. And we had talked about this, but really, when people get to your website, there's a good chance, especially if it's their first time, that they're probably not ready to just whip out their credit card, right? Or, book a call or anything like that. And so really thinking through, what is the call to action? And yes, sometimes the call to action just needs to be, book a call or call now, right? If your roof is leaking, for instance, yeah, you probably need to just call immediately. But it may be something that where it's a little bit of a longer journey. And so it may need to be, as we had talked about, how are you following up with people? Do you have an email? Do you have an email newsletter? Do you have like a lead magnet? How are you nurturing that relationship, and how are you following up with people that do come to your website? Because a lot of times it's just, I have a website, I don't know why nobody's calling me. I don't really know what I'm doing. I have a Google business profile, or I have a LinkedIn or Facebook, but nothing's really happening. And I think really helping them see, okay, your website is going to be your central hub, but there's got to be different spokes that are coming out of that are pointing to that, away from that, which is, sometimes it's kind of scary, like, oh, I don't want them to go away from my website, but how do I get them to go away from my website and then to come back to my website? Because, it's that something like you need, 11 and a half touch points or something. I don't know where the half comes from, right? But you got to have so many, touch points to get people to come to your website. And so thinking holistically of your website, I think, is extremely important.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that, 11 and a half times. So, it's like,
Yeah.
it's so funny because I referenced that. There was a survey done years ago. And the sad thing is we don't even know where that survey came from, where it really came
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But it was somewhere between, back then, I think it was between 7 and 12 touches
Yeah.
for a client to make a decision. Nowadays, it's like 20.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because we have so many options, we're distracted by so many other things. I cannot count that how many times I've seen an ad. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, there's a picture of a cat. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, huh, what? That's most people's lives these days. Is we
Oh
have
yeah.
that consistent bombardment of so many different things going on. So we need to have that. And I like that you said, you've got to have the spokes, and it is a two-way street with that, not just one way. Generally speaking, most of the stuff you want to have the other stuff coming to your website, but
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing to have your stuff going out to other platforms as well, as long as
Yeah.
they're, your platforms, linking to your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your YouTube, whatever,
Yeah.
stuff like that, because then it shows you in different places. And one of
Exactly.
the things that I think a lot of people miss, they don't understand it, they don't miss the power of this, is like people have their preferred platforms or their preferred playgrounds, I think is a better
Yeah.
term for it. So Facebook might be somebody's playground, and LinkedIn might be somebody's, and YouTube might be somebody's, where they spend the mass majority of their time. I mean, I
Yes.
know some people that literally watch 5 to 10 hours of YouTube videos a day because
Yeah.
that's where they're sucked into.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense that your website has stuff linking to your YouTube
Yes.
channel just in case?
Yep.
And then,
Yeah.
of course, your YouTube channel links back to your website. So then you've got a two-way street going in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like basketball. And one of the things that I kind of have been kind of thinking of is that really, when it comes to basketball, and you can be a pinball machine, right? It could also be football,
Mhm.
whatever you kind of, but at the same time, it's when you have a team, when you have a team of five guys that, or girls, that are working together, there it's typically, right, the good teams, it's not just get the ball in and then run straight to the hoop and shoot it, right? It's
Mhm.
okay, there's going to be a pass, another pass, a pass, a pass, another pass, maybe drive in and then a pass back out and then a shot. And that's how it's going to be now with your online presence. It's not just
Right.
see, it's not hear about you, go to your website and then shoot the shot, right, and buy. It's going to be, they're going to hear about you, they're going
Mhm.
to see your LinkedIn profile, and then they may go to your website, and then maybe they'll go back to your LinkedIn, and then, oh hey, here's a YouTube, or oh hey, they got a podcast, and then they'll go back to your website, oh hey, they got an email course, they got a lead magnet. So there's all these different touch points, and then eventually they'll shoot their shot, right? They'll go and they'll, hey, okay, I'm ready to book a call now, or I'm ready to buy your product, whatever that, your service or product is. So it's really more of them, it's really just passing the ball around, and then they're finally going to be like, okay, now I'm ready. So
Right. No, and I agree with that. It's so that it's a piece of the puzzle. That's the biggest thing I always tell
yeah.
people. It's like your website is something you need to have, but it's not the
Yes.
only thing, and it's not something you should miss. It needs to be a
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle. Everything works together. Your social media
Yeah.
presence is a piece of it. If you're getting out there speaking, that's a piece of it. It all works together. And that's
Yes.
where a lot of people just don't quite get it. If somebody wants to go through, and I know you have something cool on your website that's a full audit process, but just on the quick and dirty, because we'll make sure we get that link at the end. But for quick and dirty, if somebody wants to go through and just do a couple of quick things of, okay, here's the most important things you need to look for on your website that you could be doing wrong. What would those say three top things be that they should be looking at, making sure they fix?
Yeah. First, do you have a call to action? Doesn't matter what it is. If it's book a call, well, okay, no, it does matter. Hold on, it does matter. Is it book a call? Is it schedule a time? Is it buy now? Is it see my products? Right, one of those things, or is it that that it's going to be a little bit of a longer journey, as we've talked about? Is it going to be download my booklet, download this lead magnet, sign up for something, give them some value for free? There needs to be some call to action. I sometimes I've seen it's like all the way at the bottom, there's something that like, oh, call now. And it's like, well, they're probably not getting to that part of your website. So call to action. And you need to think through that customer journey. Is it book a call? Are we giving them some value? Is it going to be a little bit of a longer term engagement? What are we going to do to provide them some value before they are ready? And are we leading them on the journey? The second thing is are we being clear? We like to be cute, like to be clever. I always like to say when I'm talking to a client, I'm like, so what is it that you do? And then they just kind of like word vomit all over. And it's like, okay, cool. Can we maybe shorten that? And when we start to think through, I always like to say, if you had 5 seconds and you were in an elevator and the door was closing and you needed to tell your best friend as they were walking to their room where you were going to meet for dinner tonight, what are you going to say? You're not going to go into this long diatribe. You're just going to be clear, simple, and concise. And you need to make sure that that is how you are on your website, so that people, I always say, lean into that conversation. Or on a website, it's they lean into the conversation by scrolling down. And then also, you want to help them kind of think through, well, what is the problem that you're solving? You want to think through, well, I'm coming to this website because, I need someone to do my books for me, or I just don't really know how to follow up really well, with my prospects or with my potential clients. I don't really have a website that really does anything for me. And so you want to think through that problem, so that when they see that so that when people see that on your website, they're like, oh yeah, no, I need that. So if you're talking about how great you are and about all the awards, and obviously there's a time and there's a place for that on your website, but if that's the first thing and you're talking all about yourself and all about the great things that you're doing, and you're not inviting them into that story, and you're not helping them say, yeah, that's definitely something that I need to do, then they're just going to click off, because they're going to go find somebody that's going to talk to them. So I would say the top three things is make sure you have a call to action, and you need to think through what that call to action is going to be. You need to be clear, simple, and concise, and let them know exactly what it is you do. And thirdly, you need to let them know, this is what I do, and this is the problem that I'm going to help you solve. And really, when you think about it, all three of those should kind of go together. So, hey, I do this. Oh, awesome. Don't you struggle with this? Yes, I do. And they're like, well, hey, you know what? I got this free 3 video course, or I got this downloadable checklist that you can get. And then that way, now you can have a follow-up process with them. And I think really seeing that, as you had said earlier, also, how does your website also play into all of their stuff, and thinking of it not just as some disconnected piece, but as part of the puzzle, and you're leading them on that journey. So those would be the 3 things that I would say are going to be probably the most important things that you're going to have, because there's something like 70% of people or small businesses don't have any sort of call to action on their website.
Right. Now, I love that. And you did a great job of explaining those because they are such important things. And you brought up one thing that I do want to talk about because it is something that gets overlooked a lot or is kind of a secondary thought. You talked about don't talk about like all about me once they get to the website. Because I totally agree with that. Putting that of, okay, this is you and this is how we can, you have this problem. I'm here to help kind of situation. But what about the about me page? Because I know that stats show that the About Me page is the second most
Yep.
popular site,
Yep.
most
Yeah.
visited or page on a website. But most people don't spend enough time talking, like putting together a good About page. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's so funny when I tell people that, they're like, "What? The about page?" They're like, "Not like my services page or something like that?" No, it's not. It's kind of
Hmm.
funny, and it's funny to see, like, if you like look at all the pages, like how contacts actually kind of up there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so those 3 questions I was saying: what do you do? Why should people care? And how do I contact you? I always tell people, now your whole website needs to expand on that, but that's really where now you can start to focus in on that. And I always like to help people think, okay, so when they're coming to your about page, they may, a lot of times it's like, well, my grandpappy started it back in his garage in 1960. It's like, nobody, like, no offense, at this point nobody really cares, right? Like, not trying to be mean, like, that's great, you can put that in there, but it needs to be maybe further down or something like that, or maybe
Right.
that's kind of like a real person conversation, not just on their website. I always like to say, think of the problem again, going back to the problem. Think of the problem that you're solving. I was in this, industry for 14 years, and this is the problem that I continue to see. So
Hmm.
because of that, I decided to do this in order to solve that problem for these people and do this thing. So I always say, now you're really expanding on that. What do you do? Why should people care? And that why should people care becomes, this is the problem that I'm solving. I saw this problem, I decided to do this, and now I get these results by helping these people. And that's really what your about page really should be about. It should be
Right.
showing how you're walking alongside with them to help solve that problem. And then eventually you could probably talk about your grandfather and his garage.
Well, and I think that there's something that I find because, like, for myself, when I go to a website, a lot of times I will click on the about page because I want to get to
Yeah,
know the person. And for me,
100%.
that is, I want to get to know the person. Hint,
Yep.
person. I've
Yes.
seen, back in the day when we started building websites, it was our about page was all very corporate-y. We had the picture of the
Hmm.
big tall glass tower because we never, even when I worked out of my house, I still had that picture on that website because that
Yeah.
was normal back then.
Yeah.
And and it's all about, we do this and this is what we provide and very corporate sounding.
Yeah.
And I still see that from a lot of businesses. And I'm like, okay, but who is the business? Because I'm
Yeah.
dealing with a person. And I think that for me personally, that's the thing is that if I see something, a website that's all about the company and not about the people, it's a turnoff for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure because I don't know who I'm dealing with at that point. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, people buy from you. There, yes, obviously there's the company, right? You got like McDonald's, right? But at the
Right.
same time, even in that though, right? If you think about it, people are like, oh well, people buy from you, but then it's like, well, we got these companies, and it's like, well, I'm always going to buy from Sony, or I'm going to buy from
Hmm.
McDonald's or something like that. However, though, if you have a bad experience at a McDonald's, you're probably going to go to a different McDonald's, and you're probably going to avoid that. Or if it's, you have to go to that McDonald's or whatever, you're going to be like, I don't really want to go here because you didn't like the
Right.
experience. Might be the people. It's the same thing. People go to your about page because, yeah, they want to see, they want to know, okay, reanimation design. Well, who is reanimation design? Is it just
Right.
some faceless? Is it just some faceless corporation? Or, oh, okay, it's Roger, right? Or X, Y, and Z marketing, or X, Y, and Z business. They want to see who's that person behind it, because at the end they're going to choose to work with you because it's that whole know, like, and trust. And sometimes it's, you have to reverse that first part, and you have to, get them to be like, oh, wow, I kind of really like them. And then they start to know you a lot more. And then they're going to start to
Hmm.
trust you. And then they're going to like be like, oh, I like them even more, and then they're going to like, oh, I really want to know them. And so it's kind of, it's really more of a cyclical thing, this know, like, and trust, just continuing that. And your about
Right.
page needs to really be that.
Yeah, I love that, and that is to me that's an important one because I think that I know there are people who specialize in just writing copy for the about
Yeah.
pages, and I know people that
Yeah.
do that personally. That is literally what they do,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because I think about it and I'm like, there are so many people that like, yeah, they really need this because of the fact that they don't put enough. They just put a basic, boring bio. Usually, it's very corporate feeling, no heart to it. And for me, I want to get to know the person I'm working with, and a lot of times, I'm gonna read that, and I'm gonna decide whether I want to do business with them, however that looks, whether I'm buying their stuff or partnering with them or whatever. A lot of times based on how they write it, when they come from a I or we do this, and it's like we do this as a corporate boring sounding, or if it's the I and it's like, okay, you sound like a narcissist,
Yeah.
then those are both things I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this person.
Yeah.
But I've seen some that are just well written, and it's all about, they tell their story, which is great
Yeah.
because they tell it from a place of being a human being. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that people are appealing to a lot more these days.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% correct. I think that, again, I think that people want to have that connection, because at the end of the day, it's a relationship. And
Hmm.
especially, when it comes to coaching, or, where they're going to get into your business, you're going to want to know them, and not just,
Yeah.
well, they're just out there.
They're just out there. And I mean,
Yeah.
and nowadays, every industry, it doesn't matter which business, what type of business we're in, it's a dime a dozen. There are so
Yeah.
many people that do the same thing that every one of us does. People are
Yeah.
connecting with people, and that has so much to do with that. And you got to give people the opportunity to see that. So that's where your website, especially your about page, comes into play. Because if they see that, it's like, okay, is this a boring company that's just like everybody else, or
Yeah.
is this somebody who's unique and they're telling their story, and I can relate to that person. You don't relate
Yes.
to a company, you relate to a
No.
person.
Yeah, I don't really relate to Ronald McDonald. Yeah, and it's funny that you said that they're a dime a dozen. There are 8 billion people in this world, and 7.5 billion of them are marketing agents. And so, congratulations, you've met another one. So that I sometimes tell people.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was actually just talking to somebody, it was yesterday actually. And she and I were talking about the marketing world. She was asking me, it was so funny. She was asking me because as a copywriter, because that's really what I do. I'm email copy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And just so in case anybody's short on, doesn't quite understand, yes, I write email copy. I don't write any of the other garbage. Uh,
yeah,
but we were talking about it, and she was asking me, so who is your influence to get into this stuff? And I started answering some of the people that I started with, and she was like, okay, you're legit. You're talking about real guys who've been around for a while. I'm like, well,
yeah,
yeah. And she's like, yeah, but some of these guys, they've only been doing this for 6 months, and they're
mm,
like head over heels over Russell Brunson. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, I
yeah,
remember when Russell was selling potato guns, right? Uh,
yeah,
again, being around for that long. But it
yeah,
is it is interesting when you look at that, and you can see, like, you can get to know somebody by like their influences, how long they've been in business, what kind of personality, what kind of clients they like working with. That's always a big one
yeah,
too. And I
yeah,
think these are all the kind of things that we should be talking about on our websites, and building that story like what you're talking about. I love the way that you put that, is we're talking about building a story
yeah,
instead of a brochure.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's a big significant difference.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, you can have something out there that just kind of corporatees, right? But
Mhm.
when you actually start talking, you're like bringing them into that story, and they're like, okay, I want to get to know Eli better.
Right. Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, we are getting close to the time, my friend. And before we ask the last two questions, is there anything else, the little nugget of wisdom that you'd like to leave everybody with?
Yeah, I think is kind of what we've been talking about today. Don't see your website as just kind of floating out there, right? Like just something separate. You really need to see that it's really part of your your branding ecosystem, if you will, right? Your
Mhm.
marketing ecosystem. Things need to point to it. And yes, you need to point to things, but don't see it as separate as just this thing that's out there. And then you got everything else that's going on. No, how are they all connecting, and what is the story that I'm continually telling through all of those channels?
Right. I love it. Awesome. Very cool. All right. So, last two questions. Last one's the easy one. How do people get hold of you? So, we'll ask that in a second. Before we do that, this is a question I ask every single guest on here. What do the words meet cool people mean to you?
You had mentioned to me, or we had talked about it, the Go Giver, and in that book, Joe is being introduced to all of these people, and at first he's coming at it from a, okay, well, what can I get out of this? And obviously, he's still going to get stuff out of it, but but as he's meeting these people, it changes, it reframes how he sees the world and how he sees what he's doing. And for me, really, that's kind of what meeting cool people is. My idea of networking has greatly shifted over the year, especially as we have gotten to know each other and through our networking and through all that. And meeting cool people is not this idea of like, what can I get from you and just take, but man, that is really awesome that you're doing this thing. And it's really cool to hear how you're growing that, whether it's personally, whether it's in your business. And I want to know, how can I get to know you better? And how can I connect you also as well, to other people? And how can I build and grow this relationship? So I think really for me, meeting cool people is, there's just this kind of like, you talk to them and you see them like, man, I want to get to know you a little bit more. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about the know, like, and trust. Sometimes it's flipped a little bit. It's this, man, I really like what you're saying. And I kind of like this vibe or whatever you want to call it. I want to get to know you a little bit more. And that really for me is what I think meeting cool people is. Talking with you and seeing like, oh man, I think we talked about in my podcast how we were like, okay, we're gonna go have dinner at the summit, and then we ended up started bringing more and more and more people, and then we took over the whole restaurant pretty much. And then it was like, well, I didn't really even get to talk to Eli because we were sitting at separate tables and we were eating different. We were sitting at separate tables, so we didn't really get to chat. But it was so cool because just that, people were like, oh yeah, no, I want to go hang out with Eli. And oh yeah, cool, okay, Roger, yeah, you're going too, okay, cool, awesome. I mean, I want to hang out with Eli, right? But they're like, cool, I want to, let's go together. And so I think that there's just this kind of this, I don't want to say aura, but there's just something that sometimes you just have, and it's like, okay, I want to hang out with this person and I want to get to know them better because yeah, they are going to benefit me because I'm growing. And I think that that's the correct mindset is, man, I'm growing because of what they're saying. And I want to share that with other people. I want to connect them to other people because, man, I want them to meet somebody cool. And also, I know some cool people and I want to connect them also to this cool person. So I think really that's what meet cool people means to me, is just this idea of people connecting with cool people, being connected to cool people. I think that's really what that means for me.
I love it. That is awesome. And it's so funny. You brought up a couple of big things in there. Number one, obviously, the Go Giver, which I think you already know this. I keep this copy of it on my desk
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And then the dinner thing. I love that because for me, I when I go to events, that's my favorite part, is to get
Yes.
together for lunch or dinner or whatever. And when I used to do a lot of traveling as a speaker, that was what I was actually known for, was that I'd get up, I'd do my thing on stage, and then afterwards people come up to me and thank me, which was awesome. And they're like, "Hey, I learned so much." I'm like, "Well, thank you so much. I'll tell you what, a bunch of us are getting together for dinner. Why don't you come join us?" And
That's cool.
that's what we would do. Just like what you
Yeah.
experienced, we would have 10, 15, sometimes 20 people all gather around. We'd never taken over a restaurant like we did with that one. That was hilarious. And
That was.
those guys were so happy we went in there because
Yeah.
they were dead before. And we ended up
Yes.
bringing, I was probably close to
Yeah.
30 people in that one.
Oh yeah,
Um,
by far. Oh yeah.
yeah, so they had a really good night. They were super ecstatic to have us around.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that I've done for years, like
Yeah.
decades, and it's just so much fun. Because to be perfectly honest, especially when I was doing all the traveling stuff, because I'm traveling as a speaker, it's like I love
Yeah.
speaking, I really do. But my favorite part of any event is getting people together, breaking bread, because you can get to know somebody
Yes.
so much better when you do that.
Yeah, sitting around that table is
Hmm.
it's a different experience.
Yeah. And we definitely need to figure out that time when you and I can get together again, because you're down outside of Austin, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
just north of Austin. Yep.
okay, so you're north of Austin. I'm just outside of DFW. Next time one of us comes the other direction, we need to actually have a real meal and sit down together so we can chat more.
Yes. 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 Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been super cool, dude. What is, if people want to learn more about all the cool stuff you're doing and, maybe get a hold of you to talk to you about helping them with the website, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I do have a YouTube and I have a podcast, but really where you'll probably be able to find me the most is LinkedIn, and then you can also check out my website, reanimationdesign.com, or on LinkedIn you can just search for my name, Roger Jorns, and I will be there. And then I also have links to my other things as well, my YouTube and my podcast and everything that I'm doing. So LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me, and then you can check out my website as well. You can download my lead magnet. You can shoot me an email. Whatever fits your fancy.
Awesome. I love it. Well, this has been cool, my friend. I appreciate you coming and hanging out today. And as always, it's a good time when we get to hang out and have gold geeky talk.
Yeah, no, 100%. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Eli. It's been really cool.
Awesome. All right. And everybody else, get out there. Have an amazing week. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out. Let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. Now, if you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rock star.